Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. And can I just say from the start, I am once again proud to be here with you today, proud to be allied to such a group of friends who are committed to push the case for democracy and freedom. I'm proud once again to associate myself with the mission of the great leader Maryam Rajavi. I want us today, on this anniversary, to remember the motivations behind this movement in 1979 and how legitimate aspirations were replaced by ruthless persecution, execution of political opponents, dissidents, intellectuals, campaigners just like you and me. Remember, in 1979, how one small autocracy with limitless power, or so it seemed, was removed. How a small autocracy today, with the power of the army, the control of the media, a secret police, how relevant that is today in 2020 as it was in 1979. I want us today to dedicate ourselves to the memory of thousands of campaigners for a democratic, free and secular Iran who have lost their lives, not least the 1988 massacre of 30,000 prisoners, political prisoners, directly following the fatwa of Ayatollah Khomeini. I have a book presented to me some years ago by Maryam Rajavi. Some of you may know the book. It is a thick red book with the names and the photographs of 30,000 people sacrificed on the altar of unacceptable fundamentalism and brutality. Let us never forget those 30,000 campaigners for democracy and freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to remember, you all do, others need to remember too. I want you to remember that since 1979, the theocratic regime has been at the bottom of just about every international humanitarian index known to man. Bottom on human rights, on women's rights, on gender equality, on press freedom, on freedom of expression, on the independence of the judiciary. And as we gather here today at this rally, as we gather peaceably without impediment or intrusion, remember today our compatriots on the streets of Tehran. Remember our compatriots on the streets of 191 towns and cities around that great nation, where despite just about every barbaric obstacle put in their way, from plastic bullets to tear gas to arbitrary arrest and detention, despite the fact that 1,500 of them have been killed on those same streets, despite the arrest and unwarranted detention of 12,000 people, those campaigners, ladies and gentlemen, are still there, still campaigning with resolve, still campaigning for democracy and freedom, to which every human being in this world is entitled. So ladies and gentlemen, let each and every one of us here today, those watching bravely in Iran, let us once again resolve the case for democracy and freedom. Let us dedicate ourselves and show our solidarity with our compatriots across in Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, I first became involved in this great coup campaign on the grounds of human rights. I just want to quote from you, from the non-partisan, marvellous, excellent, sadly necessary organisation, Amnesty International. I'm going to quote from you from what it said on January the 15th. The evidence consisting of verified video footage and photographs and testimonials from victims and eyewitnesses indicates that on the 11th and 12th of January, security forces fired pointed pellets from air guns, usually used for hunting animals, at peaceful protests, causing bleeding and painful injuries. Security forces using rubber bullets, tear gas and pepper spray to disperse protesters, as well as kicking and punching them, beating them with batons and carrying out arbitrary arrests, some 7,000 in 2018 alone. They went on. Harrowing testimony from eyewitnesses suggests that almost immediately after the Iranian authorities massacred hundreds of those participating in nationwide protests, they went on to orchestrate a wide-scale clamping down designed to instill fear and prevent anyone from speaking out what happened. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe Amnesty International. We believe what they say. We know it to be true. We know the charlatans that run Iran are committed to anything but democracy. For those of us who care for human rights, this cause will never end until a democratic, secular, free Iran is secured in Tehran. In the meantime, we call on the government of this great country, with our allies in the United Nations and friends in the European Union, to put pressure to release all political prisoners, all dual citizens detained, and the latest detainees after the demonstrations. We call on the United Nations to send fact-finding missions to explore the truth about what happened in 1988. And ladies and gentlemen, we must take immediate action at the United Nations Security Council to declare the leaders of this regime as perpetrators of crimes against humanity for the 4 decades of systematic torture and abuse. Those responsible must be held to account. The last 40 years have been a tragedy for the people of the great country of Iran. Now, a proud country, but characterized by barbarism, brutality, by the state sponsoring of international terrorism, characterized by intolerance and repression, by the loss of life and inhumanity, and as many of you know all too well, by families torn apart, scattered throughout the world. Let us resolve today that the next 40 years must be different, a free, democratic and secular Iran. Let the message go out to Iran, the Iranian diaspora throughout the world, especially if they are brave enough to be listening to what we say today, especially to those brave campaigners on the streets, as the late, much missed and great Lord Robin Corbett used to remind us at every meeting that I was proud enough to attend. Iran will be free. Iran will be free.